alaikum and a very good morning to everyone. It's a privilege to welcome you all to this important session on green financing, a topic that is no longer a choice, but a necessity to our economic, social, and environmental future. Now, I would like to call Sir Umar on the stage for the recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار صدق الله العظيم. Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all the participants and all the esteemed guests from State Bank of Pakistan, from the Oryx Muzarba Company, CFO, CEO Dr. Sir Raheel Saab, Raza Saab from Mizan Bank, and Mufti Sarfaraz Saab from Standard Chartered Bank. And this is a great opportunity for us, for the students especially, to have this esteemed panel of bankers and green finance experts. As we have discussed many a times in the class that this is the era of sustainability, and even the future era that is coming to us is from sustainability. So that is why we have opted this topic for our session, and we have very selectively found out that who are the best speakers in regarding this topic. So as we have already exceeded our time, so basically inshallah we will be starting from our panel discussion, and the panel discussion is basically targeting the students to understand what green finance and especially Islamic green finance is. And with us, alhamdulillah, is Dr. Edip Sumolo from Iffat University, Jeddah. He's also with us. He will be accompanying us in the panel discussion as well. And he will be having a keynote speech at the end of our session as well, especially for his book that we will be revealing it today, inshallah, at the end of his speech. So I don't take too much time, and I would like to invite our panel moderators and speakers. So I would like to invite Mr. Raheel Qamar Ahmed Saab, the Managing Director and CEO of Oryx Leasing Pakistan. Please come to the stage. And secondly, Mr. Mohammad Raza, the SVP Group Head, General Services and Customer Support from Mizan Bank. Thank you for coming. Thank you. And then Mufti Sarfaraz Nihal Saab, the Resident Sharia Board Member, is from Standard Chartered Bank of Pakistan. And I will be moderating this session, and we also have Dr. Edip Sumolo with us as the expert. And after this panel discussion, inshallah, we will be having our keynote speech as well from Miss Sara from the State Bank of Pakistan, who is rigorously working, mashallah, on the inclusion and the gender diversity in the banking sector. So I will be the moderator, and I shall start this session, inshallah. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome, Sir Raheel Saab, Mufti Sarfaraz Saab, and Raza Saab for our today's panel discussion. And today's discussion is be focusing on Islamic green finance. We have been discussing this green finance and then Islamic finance separately. So sometimes there are conferences on Islamic finance, and there are panel discussions and colloquiums on the green finance. So I think that if how can we merge both of these things, and what are your opinions from Sharia perspective, Mufti Saab, and from the investment perspective, Raheel Saab, and from banking perspective, Raza Saab. So we would like to listen your thoughts initially, and then we have some questions from students and from us, inshallah. So I think we shall start from Raheel Saab from this.
Assalamu alaikum ji. I think when we start off talking about Islamic green finance, in my view, it's a redundant term. Because Islamic finance in itself entails that we do things that are sustainable, that do not harm the planet, and that actually add to asset and value creation. Now, green finance is just perhaps a subset, if you want to use it that word, of focusing the investment on sustainability and things that progress in terms of sustainability. But generally, in the overarching Islamic finance space, green finance is one very small portion. In Islamic finance, what we do in any case progresses and professes and pushes the sustainability. So to answer your first question, in my view, sustainability, which is the need of the hour in any case, the planet woke up to sustainability about 10 years ago with the global goals of ESG and all, is very much aligned to Islamic finance. And just a name, green finance, is a very, very small subset of the Islamic finance universe.
Thank you. Raza Sahab, I think our students would like to initially understand what Islamic and what do we exactly mean by Islamic green finance.
Okay, ji, auzubillahi minash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. I think I'm really glad that the university has taken this initiative of arranging this very important workshop or seminar or conference on Islamic green finance. You are right that we have been arranging, you have been addressing various sessions focusing on Islamic finance. Then there are some on green finance, but merging both these are very important. I'll take just a few minutes on just describing what basically is green finance. Actually, when you allocate your funds towards areas which focuses on environment and on the green banking, which has a positive impact on the environment, that basically is your green financing. As Rahil Sahab said, we talk about Islamic green finance, but actually when we talk about Islamic finance, it has this ethical part into its DNA. It has it into its DNA. And the realization came late. Since beginning, Islamic banking, Islamic economics, Islamic finance is ethical financing, ethical banking. But the realization came somewhere in 2008 and 2009. I just for the benefit of, since the students, they may not be aware of the history, Islamic banking in technical terms started in 1975 when the first Islamic bank, DIB, came on the screen. The work started way back. I won't go into detailed history, but it started in 1975. So by virtue of that number, we have completed 50 years. In 2025, we have completed 50 years of Islamic banking in Pakistan, in the world, globally. So what is interesting is that, as I said, Islamic banking or Islamic finance is basically it talks about transparency, it talks about ethics, it talks about giving benefit to the society. But since this was new to everyone, they were skeptical about it. They were like, "Kaan yahan se nahi pakadna, yahan se pakadna hai." I mean, there were different things. Until unless 2008 and 2009 arrived. So this is like from 1975 to 2009, this is 34 years. Till 34 years, the total asset under management of entire Islamic finance was only 1 trillion. Only 1 trillion. But then what happened, I'm sure you must have studied the 2007 and 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis. And it was realized that, especially during the last 25 years, starting from 2001, there have been various disasters, not economic disasters, financial disasters, starting from Enron in 2001, the WorldCom in 2002, then the 2008, 2009, Lehman Brothers and all this. And this all came through the virtue of greed. Greed for money, making more money, being more economically viably. And they all worked in the direction that everything is fair in love and war and making money. So this 2007-2008 crisis, which just to give you a brief snapshot, what happened, and this was a time when the bank was involved. That this was a housing finance crisis. That in the Western world, they used mortgages, and they had the term of subprime mortgage, which means that to customers who were not that strong, they provided them with finances initially at a lower rate, but that rate was changeable. I mean, it had to alter, and at a later time that rate had to go up. But then when they gave those loans, they packaged them as good loans, and they even engaged the rating agencies in classifying them as AAA. And when those loans were packaged as financial instruments and they were sold, and what they had in mind that these the mortgages are against properties, and property values always go up. So even if they default, they will get the money out of those funds. But what happened that when the interest rates went up, all those customers who were initially subprime, they were not up to that grade, they defaulted. And when they defaulted, that default increased because now this investment became a global investment. They sold this across the globe. This came down, and when this came down, there were houses. People left their houses because they didn't have amount to pay, and there were more houses to sell than the demand. So the prices of the houses came down, and this was a domino effect. And as a result, we have seen 2008-9 when across the globe there were properties where boards were there for sale, for rent, and that resulted in dilution of so many big houses. Even Lehman Brothers, Merrill Lynch, Freddie Mae, all these came down. And that was the first time when it was realized that Islamic banks at that point in time were least affected, because they don't deal in derivatives, they don't deal in selling debts, they don't deal in interest. So these banks were least affected, and that was for the first time that the West and across the world, they realized that there is something which is known as Islamic banking, and which is safeguarded due to their ethical way of operating. And that was a time when Islamic banking and Islamic finance started growing. And just to give you the result, that I said that in 34 years, it went from 0 to 1 trillion. The second trillion was, this is now trillion dollars, the second trillion was achieved in 6 years. The third trillion could have achieved earlier, but then 2020 came and everything came down. So the third trillion was again achieved in 6 years. The fourth trillion was achieved in 2 years. And the fifth trillion in 1.5 years. So this is the growth pattern. So the Islamic finance is all ethical, it's all transparent, it's all for the society. And when we say, when we add this green finance with Islamic, which means that we want to allocate our funds to all those projects which would have positive impact on the environment. Say energy preservation, say solar houses, say green buildings, water preservation, rain harvesting, all those. And it's very important for Pakistan because I'm sure everyone knows that Pakistan is one of the most vulnerable countries as far as climate is concerned. So this Islamic finance, green finance is not about just environment, it's about economic changes. So it has a lot of impact, and I think as the awareness of this is increasing, we'll see more about it in the upcoming future.
Thank you, Raja Saab, for the detailed historical outlook as well as the the role of Islamic finance in this. Mufti Sahab, mashallah, you are serving as the resident Sharia board member for the Standard Bank of Pakistan. I would like to have your opinion on just this point, that what are the rulings or guidance of Islam regarding the environment? What Islam tells us about the environment, about sustainability?
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू नहमदुहु व नसल्ली व नुसल्लिमु अला रसूलिल करीम. First of all, I would like to thanks for the invitation. Basically, Islamic finance or Islamic green finance comes under the privilege or the rulings of the Islam or the Sharia, and we have to know about the Islamic rulings, that is with respect to our individual life and as well as collective life. Basically, the financial obligations or the financial transactions or the transactions or the rights and obligations that comes under the obligations of the collective life. Whenever we are discussing the Islamic rulings, so Islamic ruling not just to provide the rulings with respect to your rituals or your worships, it also provide the rulings, the collective life. And collective life basically consists of two things: your social life and as well as your financial obligations. If we talk about the environmental sustainability or topics like discussed in the Sustainable Development Goals, so these things are highlighted today. But the Islam, that is since the era of the Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam, gives a clear guideline. For example, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa taala says that Allah created the creatures, and one of the creatures is the earth, is this land, and you, of course, we are the creations of Allah subhanahu wa taala. And what is the obligation among themselves? Basically, your rights is our obligations, and your obligations is our right. जो हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है वो क्या है बेसिकली, कि हम क्या करें, सोशलाइज करें इस बात को और रियलाइज करें बेसिकली कि जनाब what are the peoples basically are connected with each other in our economic life, in our social life, and have to realize if anything that is against the society or with the environment, so that will also against the Islamic rulings, because the Islam is the nature of the is the natural phenomena basically. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the wala tabghil fasada fil ardh, do not create the corruption, environmental corruption, financial corruption. Wallahu la yuhibbul mufsidin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislike this act, and people's they acting participating in such like in these type of the criminal activities. That is all about from my side.
Okay, thank you, especially for the Quranic guidance. Rahil Sahab, I would like to come back to you about a question students have been asking me in the class, and I intentionally didn't respond to them. And I told them we are having this seminar, and I want this question from your side. So students will be asking similar question, inshallah. The question is, students ask, what is green sukuk?
Sukuk is essentially what is known as conventional terms as a bond, which is something that has a principal and a profit payout over a defined tenor. Green sukuk is any sukuk that's issued for a green purpose. Now, the green purpose could be environmental, it could be energy saving, it could be anything that adds value to society in terms of sustainability. So I mean, that's it in a very, very short answer. But if you want any details, I'll be happy to go into it later.
Thank you for this simple statement, and this is a statement which students can basically just write in their answers against the question. And the concept again is very good, very bright. But what about what we are doing in this kind for this purpose? What our investment agencies, investment banks are doing for this purpose? Ours and some global as well. So.
Well, the first green sukuk came out in 2017 in Malaysia. And Malaysia is still the largest issuer of such sukuks in the world. Pakistan started very, very low and very late. As far as I know, there have been very few green sukuks. Lately, we've done a few. One in terms of, if I remember correctly, from the government, and a couple from the private sector. One of which is also guaranteed by one of the agencies that we have.
Thank you. Raja Sahab, your opinion, what banks are doing for especially green sukuk and some more about green financing as well?
Actually, as mentioned by Rahil Saab, sukuks is one asset which really gives the customers the comfort and to answer the queries of those critics who says that Islamic banking and commercial banking is same and मुझे मैंने पका के कान यहाँ से न पकड़े वहाँ से पकड़ लें क्योंकि sukuk basically is asset backed a bond. Normal bond जब issue होता है तो उसके पीछे कोई asset नहीं होता, ठीक है ना? You just issue a PIB, issue a bond, and you get interest out of it. For a sukuk, you have to have an asset, or this is one of the reasons that we have very few sukuks, because we are looking for assets. If you don't have asset, we cannot issue a sukuk. So first we have to identify that asset, then we have to then classify that asset into a sukuk, and then we can issue. So whenever someone gets a certificate, of a sukuk certificate, basically it's a participation of that person in that sukuk, in that investment. So he gets a profit out of that investment. So it's basically a bit different from normal investments or normal bonds. अच्छा, banks basically इसके लिए काफी सारी कोशिश इसलिए भी करते हैं क्योंकि banks के पास Islamic banks के पास they don't have this option of PIBs and T-bills. Because they are interest based. So they need to invest in areas which are purely Islamic, and sukuks is one big investment. So banks are continuously after the Ministry of Finance, the State Bank of Pakistan, we should come up with more sukuks so that जो हमारे पास जो liquidity है, we can apply that liquidity into those sukuks. अच्छा होता ये है कि चूंकि sukuks की जो supply है बहुत कम है, ठीक है ना? और जब एक सुकूक आता है तो उसमें बहुत सारे लोग पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, तो एज अ रिजल्ट उसका जो रेट है ना वो कन्वेंशनल से कम होता है. तो ये एक बड़ी हिट पड़ती है इस्लामिक बैंक्स को कि अगर नॉर्मल टी बिल्स हैं वो अगर K+1 पर अगर आए तो मे बी ये K पर या K- में भी चला जाता है. तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द रीजंस कि the banks are badly affected due to their limitations in investment opportunities. लेकिन having said that, अब चूंकि we have now a roadmap, and that roadmap says that by the year 2027, the entire banking system, the entire economic system has to be converted into Islamic, which means, and inshallah ta'ala, this will happen. And once we are on that roadmap, what we need to do is that we need to have more investment opportunities, which means that more sukuks should come in. There should be more sukuks coming in so that there are more opportunities for the banks, for the financial investments house to invest. अच्छा, talking about these green sukuks, I think ये इसकी भी जो importance है ना वो इस हद तक बढ़ गई है अब कि जैसे मैंने इब्तिदा में भी कहा कि पाकिस्तान is one of the most vulnerable countries. So we need to have projects which are green, which focuses on environment, on climate. और उसके लिए we need to have the sukuks जहाँ पर पर्पस सिर्फ यही हो कि उसको हमने उन्हीं प्रोजेक्ट्स के लिए यूज़ करना है. क्योंकि जो नॉर्मल सुकूक्स है ना, उसमें और इनमें फ़र्क ये होता है कि नॉर्मल सुकूक्स में the asset is already there. There is an asset and that asset is used to issue that sukuk. जो ग्रीन सुकूक है उसमें फ़र्क ये आ रहा है कि उसमें that project has to be developed. ठीक है ना? तो but having said that, the banks are very interested in getting these sukuks because their bread and butter is attached to it. ठीक है ना? तो हमारी मतलब से अगर to talk about Mizan Bank is fully engaged with the Ministry of Finance, with State Bank of Pakistan, with the PSX. अब आपको ये जो last जो sukuks आए हैं, they are trading on PSX. So now for a normal investor, वो एक 5,000 रुपए खर्च करके भी वो एक सुकूक खरीद सकता है, क्योंकि इसकी अवेयरनेस भी बहुत मैटर करती है. और वो आई थिंक जैसे जैसे ये वक्त गुजरेगा और जैसे जैसे लोगों के पास और ये अपॉर्चुनिटीज आएंगी, मतलब करेंटली आई थिंक 6 महीने पहले जो पाकिस्तान का जो पहला ये जो ग्रीन सुकूक है, जो कि गवर्नमेंट बैक्ड सॉवरेन गारंटी, आई थिंक इट वाज तकरीबन 30 बिलियन का वो सुकूक हुआ था. लेकिन मोर should come so that people are more aware about it. और उसके साथ साथ banks जो कि 2 साल में पूरे convert करेंगे, they have this opportunity of investing in an area which are Sharia compliant.
Thank you, Raza Saab, for this detailed. Mufti Saab, I would like to ask about, because these students have been studying Islamic finance since 3 months, and they know what ijara is, what musharaka is, diminishing musharaka, and even you can check and you can ask them as well. The question is, they need to understand what are the contracts behind a normal sukuk. What are the contracts they have studied and they are normally behind the sukuk.
Jazakallah. As Raza Saab mentioned, the sukuk is a way of finance the customer, and it is the alternative solution of the bond. And what we have done in the bond, or what is the underlying contract in the bond? It is basically the loan contract. And we have to know about the nature of the loan contract. Loan is a basically non-compensatory contract. It can be considered, or it is considered as, according to Sharia, a social contract in which one gives something, amount of the money, with the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not any type of the benefit from the second person or the loanee. So that's why we have to abide, we have to stop to give something on a loan basis and charge over the principal amount. So that is the first key concept of the conventional financing. Basically, the modus operandi or the operational or functionality of all the conventional bank is to giving the loan and charging the interest over the loan amount, and that is fully restricted or impermissible according to Sharia, first of all. But अब क्या करें जी, अगर ये social contract नहीं कर सकते तो what are the alternatives available to us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the verse number 272, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. Allah has permitted the sale-based contract, trade-based contract, business transaction against, and said against the interest-based lending and borrowing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ne basically while we are comparing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compare that कि भाई तुम ये छोड़ दो, please don't do that, और इसके अगेंस्ट में क्या कर लो, ट्रेड बेस्ड ट्रांजैक्शन करो. And what's the reason? Allah said कि जनाब, I am the creator. Being a creator, you have to obey the instructions. So that's why we have the solution of different Islamic mode of finance available in our shelf. For example, if we talk about the sukuk, the sukuk is the way of the financing. And what is the underlying contract in the sukuk? For example, DMSLB is the normal normal product available with respect to private sector and as well as in government sector. DMSLB क्या होता है जी? DM जानते हैं जी? अच्छा जी. What is the meaning of DM? Diminishing musharka. In which first of all, it is the combination of three contract. First of all, creating or establishing the musharka partnership with the capital investment by the client and the bank. And the second contract would be the जी कौन सा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा उसके बाद जब मुशारका क्रिएट हो जाएगा? Rental contract, lease contract, because banks usually can take the asset, cannot take taking the asset from the customer. Customer usually used to drive the benefits from the asset. किराए पे जो घर ले रहा है या जो भी एसेट प्लांट मशीनरी ले रहा है वो बेसिकली उसको यूज करना चाहता है. तो the feasible contract would be the ijara contract in which banks basically taking the profit from the customer. जो कमाता है कस्टमर से वो किस में कमाता है? वो through rentals being a lessor. And the third one contract is the sale contract. Why sale contract should be executed between the client and the bank? What is the reason behind it? क्यों करते हैं जी sale contract? Because it is diminishing musharka. Bank have to lose their share. And customer through sale contract basically क्या करना चाहता है? वो अपनी ओनरशिप को इंक्रीज करना चाहता है. तो diminishing musharka क्यों कहते हैं? बैंक losing their share and customer increasing. So that is the way of the financing. And whenever we are talking about the DMSLB, customer needs basically the cash or liquid generation is the final outcome or need or requirement of the customer. And asset is also available with the customer. Customer के पास asset है और उसके अलावा कोई दूसरा asset नहीं है. तो DMSLB में क्या होता है basically कि there is a asset purchase agreement in which bank basically purchase the asset from the customer partially or fully. Say for example, if we talk about the renovation case or further construction or civil construction or the erection of the plant and machinery. प्लांट मशीनरी आपने क्या करना है जनाब? उसको आपने लेके चलना है, उसके अलावा आपके पास एसेट नहीं है और कस्टमर नीड फंड्स. तो बेसिकली द पोर्शन ऑफ द एसेट दैट इज अवेलेबल टू द कस्टमर बेसिकली दैट विल परचेज फ्रॉम द कस्टमर टू द बैंक अगेंस्ट सम कंसिडरेशन. 50%, 75% उस एसेट को कौन ओन कर लेता है बाद में? उसको बैंक ओन करता है और मनी क्या कर देता है? उसको एसेट परचेज एग्रीमेंट के थ्रू उसको फाइनेंस कर देता है. और फिर उसके बाद ये जो है वो आपका ये सिलसिला चलता है मुशारका क्रिएट होने के बाद. और फिर उसके बाद आप इसको क्या करते हैं? इसको इसी तरीके से रेंटल्स के थ्रू बैंक अर्न करते हैं. बट वन कंडीशन शुड बी देयर अकॉर्डिंग टू द IOP शरिया स्टैंडर्ड और अकॉर्डिंग टू द शरिया बोर्ड रूलिंग्स कि एसेट एटलीस्ट शुड बी held with the ownership of the customer at least 1 year. कि 1 साल कम से कम ये एसेट किसके पास रहे? कस्टमर इसको जो है वो कस्टमर इसको ओन करे. और उसके बाद फिर आप क्या करेंगे? थ्रू सेल परचेज जो है उस एसेट्स को ट्रांसफर करेंगे ग्रेजुअली. तो DMSLB एक आपके पास क्या है जनाब? एक आपके पास अवेलेबल mode of finance है in which we can easily trade the sukuk. We will trade the sukuk easily through DMSLB क्योंकि इसमें एसेट एग्जिस्ट कर रहा होता है और उस एसेट को आप सेकेंडरी मार्केट के अंदर, क्योंकि एसेट जो है वो आपका पैरिशेबल आइटम नहीं, कंज्यूमेबल आइटम नहीं, बल्कि कौन सा आइटम है वो? दैट गिविंग द यूज ऑफ फ्रैक्ट्स और द बेनिफिट्स, यूटिलिटी. एंड यूटिलिटी कैन बी सेल मोर प्राइस और लेस प्राइस, तो उसकी मार्केट में उसकी फ्लक्चुएशन उसकी प्राइस की सेम एज इट इज, जिस तरह बॉन्ड की यील्डिंग क्या होती है आपकी जो वो चेंज हो रही होती है, उसमें वोलेटिलिटी होती है, सेम एज इट इज है वो आपके DMSLB सुकूक के अंदर हो रही होती है. Second example, इस्तिस्ना का में जा रहा. Take an example of the M9 motorway from Sakhar to Hyderabad, that is yet to be constructed, but it will, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Islamic banks basically giving the financing on the basis of the istisna structure to build it. Government इसको क्या करेगी, बिल्ड करेगी, कंस्ट्रक्ट करेगी, and then operate. And what is the operating mechanism? Through toll fees लेते हैं बेसिकली. जो toll fees आ रही है, basically it is the ultimate part or the benefit of the bank. किराए पर देगा बैंक. और उसके बाद जब बैंक अपनी जितनी लिक्विडिटी उसने दी थी वो पूरी कर ली, फिर बिल्ड, ऑपरेट एंड ट्रांसफर. तो इस्तिस्ना कम इजारा, पहले बिल्ड करेंगे, देन इसको आप क्या करेंगे, कस्टमर को, NHA को या और भी जो भी आपकी जो वो गवर्नमेंट एंटिटी है उसको आप क्या करेंगे, उसको लीज बेसिस पर, रेंटल बेसिस पर उसको देंगे आप, और आप साथ साथ क्या करते रहेंगे, यू विल चार्जिंग द rentals. Once rentals completed or the tenure completed, transfer the ownership to the government or the entity. इस्तिस्ना का में जा रहा, ये भी आपका इसमें. अब इसमें बेनिफिट्स कस्टमर्स कैसे ले सकते हैं. सुकूक बेसिकली इज द रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ द सर्टिफिकेट्स ऑफ द ऑनरशिप, जस्ट लाइक इन PSX ऑफ द शेयर्स. शेयर्स के अंदर क्या होता है, आप बेसिकली अपनी पार्टनरशिप को रिकॉग्नाइज कर रहे हो स्पेसिफिक कंपनी में, जस्ट लाइक PPL एंड OGDC एक्सेट्रा. तो सेम एज इट इज NHA में आपकी क्या होगी, ऑनरशिप होगी पार्ट्स एंड पीसेस के अंदर. अग्रीड? हाँ, ये पॉइंट क्लियर हुआ आपको. तो इस तरह और डिफरेंट स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं जिन स्ट्रक्चर्स के थ्रू हम ऐसे सुकूक्स इशू करते हैं जो सेकेंडरी मार्केट में क्या हो, ट्रेडेबल हो. और ट्रेडेबिलिटी की वजह से क्या होगा, अब उसकी फ्लक्चुएशन, प्राइसेस की फ्लक्चुएशन भी होगी, उससे यील्डिंग आपकी जो है वो ऑलमोस्ट पाकिस्तान के अंदर तो जो हमारा जो ट्रेंड है वो पॉजिटिव ट्रेंड है. उमूमन जो है वो प्राइसेस क्या हो रहे होते हैं, इसके इंक्रीज ही हो रहे होते हैं, रेंटल्स इंक्रीज हो रहे होते हैं विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द काइबोर, आगे चल रहे होते हैं. तो इससे कस्टमर्स अपनी ऑनरशिप के साथ साथ जो है बेसिकली आप यील्डिंग के बेनिफिट्स भी ले रहा होता है. और डिस्कस करें इसको.
Thank you.
इसमें तो बातें बहुत सारी.
Thank you for the detailed structuring of it. And now I would like students as well, because they have prepared some questions as well. मैं students से भी चाहूँगा कि independently सवालात इनको mic पहुँचा दें. Students के पास ताकि ये लोग पूछना चाहें.
Assalamu alaikum. Sir, what is the role of State Bank in the green finance?
To talk to you quickly. अभी ज़्यादा टाइम मैं आपका नहीं लूँगी. मैं आप तमाम हजरात की इजाज़त से थोड़ा सा डिटेल जवाब इस चीज़ का देना चाहूँगी. जी जी, नहीं प्लीज़. जी जी. I'm audible? Yeah, I have to turn this on. It's on? अच्छा. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. सारा सज्जाद, डेप्यूटी चीफ मैनेजर SBBSC कराची ऑफिस. मैं शुरू करूँगी बिल्कुल बेस से. आप बहुत अच्छे सवालात जवाबात हुए यहाँ तक कि मुझे लगता है थोड़ी सी पढ़ाई भी आपको करनी पड़ी इस सेमिनार में. ये तो सारी बातें हो गई कि इस्लामिक फ़ाइनेंस क्या है, ग्रीन फाइनेंस क्या है, इस्लामिक ग्रीन फाइनेंस क्या है. लेकिन ग्रीन क्या होता है, आप में से कोई बता सकता है? ग्रीन क्या है? ऑसम. ये कौन था भाई? ग्रास. मुझसे मिल के जाना. अमेजिंग. आप स्टेट बैंक क्या कर रहा है, ये उसका जवाब है। रेगुलेटर हमेशा इंडस्ट्री को क्लैरिटी देता है कि किन पैरामीटर्स पे उसने चीज़ों को डिसाइड करना है, ऐसे पैरामीटर्स जो यूनिवर्सली एक्सेप्टेबल भी हों, नॉन एम्बिगुअस भी हों। इन दैट टोन मैं आपसे 2 रिक्वेस्ट्स करना चाहूँगी। सबसे पहली रिक्वेस्ट मेरी ये है कि ये जो ग्रीन की तरफ का पूरी दुनिया का सफ़र है, ये आज से शुरू नहीं हुआ। ये मिड 60s-70s में यूनाइटेड नेशंस के डिफरेंट ग्रीनरी अकॉर्ड्स के अंडर शुरू हुआ है। और आप प्लीज़ यूनाइटेड नेशंस सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स 2030 पर एक नज़र ज़रूर डालें। आप उसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को देखेंगे, पढ़ेंगे, समझेंगे तो आपको अंदाज़ा हो जाएगा कि दुनिया जो ESG कंप्लायंस है, विच इज़ एनवायरमेंटल स्टेबिलिटी एंड गवर्नेंस के जो फ्रेमवर्क्स हैं, उनकी तरफ जा रही है। दुनिया के उस सफ़र को क्या चीज़ ड्राइव कर रही है, पहली बात तो ये। दूसरी बात, द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान इन कोलैबोरेशन हैव रिलीज्ड द ग्रीन टेक्सोनॉमी। जो आपका सवाल है कि स्टेट बैंक क्या कर रहा है, आप में से किसी को ग्रीन टेक्सोनॉमी का आइडिया है? ओके, नो इश्यूज़। 3 गाइडिंग प्रिंसिपल्स हैं उसके। इट्स अ वेरी ब्यूटिफुली डिज़ाइंड डॉक्यूमेंट, ज़रूर पढ़ें उसको प्लीज़। बैंक्स के लिए, बिजनेसेस के लिए वो गाइडलाइंस हैं कि उन्होंने कोई भी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी जिसमें उन्होंने इंगेज करना है, उसको वो ग्रीन कैसे कहेंगे, ठीक है। पहला सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट प्रिंसिपल है उसका कार्बन इमिशंस। आई एम श्योर यू आर ऑल अ वेरी टेक सेवी एंड अ वेरी कनेक्टेड जनरेशन। जो 1.5 डिग्रीज सेंटीग्रेड क्लाइमेट चेंज में जो हमारा गोल है, आई एम श्योर आप सब उससे आगाह होंगे। ग्रीन वो सारी एक्टिविटीज़ हैं विच आर अलाइंड विद द गोल ऑफ नॉट अलाउिंग our world's temperature to increase by more than 1.5 degrees centigrade. वो तमाम इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी जो इस गोल से अलाइंड है, वो खुद को एज अ स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट ग्रीन कह सकती है। इसका दूसरा सबसे अहम प्रिंसिपल ग्रीन टेक्सोनॉमी का है, डू नो सिग्निफिकेंट हार्म। जब आप कन्वेंशनल जो जितने भी आपके सोर्सेज हैं या जो कन्वेंशनल एक्टिविटीज़ हैं, उनको छोड़कर या उनसे ट्रांजिशन करके जब आप जाते हैं ग्रीन प्रिंसिपल्स की तरफ या रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज की तरफ, तो उसमें आपको ये ध्यान भी करना है कि उस अडॉप्शन के दौरान आपने अपनी एनवायरनमेंट को, अपने लोगों को, लैंड यूजेज को, वाटर यूजेज को, बायोडाइवर्सिटी को, पोल्यूशन के लेवल्स को कोई नुकसान नहीं पहुंचाना। डू नो सिग्निफिकेंट हार्म। तीसरी चीज़, मिनिमम सोशल सेफगार्ड्स फ्रॉम ड्यूरिंग योर ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम कन्वेंशनल मेथड्स टू ग्रीन मेथड्स टू रिन्यूएबल मेथड्स। आप जो एक्टिविटीज़ अडॉप्ट कर रहे हैं, उनके तहत या उनकी वजह से आपकी पूरी एनवायरनमेंट के किसी भी एस्पेक्ट को, मिनिमम वेज को, जो आपके इंडिजिनस पीपल हैं उनको, वाटर सोर्सेज या वाटर टेबल है उसको, जो आपकी बायोडाइवर्सिटी है उसको कोई नुकसान नहीं पहुंचना चाहिए। तो स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान ये कर रहा है कि वो स्टैंडर्ड्स बना रहा है इंडस्ट्री वाइड एंड अनएम्बिगुअस, जिनके तहत बिजनेसेस सबसे पहले तो ये समझ पाएँ कि ग्रीन है क्या, और उसके बाद उसको अडॉप्ट करने के दौरान उन्होंने किन किन चीज़ों का ख्याल रखना है। IFRS 9 के स्ट्रक्चर के अंडर जो आपके ESG जो फ्रेमवर्क्स हैं जिनकी अभी मैंने बात की, उनकी जो कंप्लायंस है और उनके जो डिस्क्लोजर्स हैं, उसके स्टैंडर्ड्स भी आ चुके हैं S1 S2। आप वो भी पढ़िएगा प्लीज़, उन पे भी एक नज़र डालिएगा। दे आर ऑल्सो अ ब्यूटिफुल फ्रेमवर्क फॉर बिजनेसेस एज टू हाउ दे कैन एक्चुअली अंडरस्टैंड कि उनकी अपनी कार्बन इमिशंस क्या हैं और उन्होंने ख़ुद को कन्वर्ट कैसे करना है, और इस चीज़ को उन्होंने डिस्क्लोज़ कैसे करना है। अभी 2-3 सालों तक तो ये आपके लिए बिजनेसेस वगैरह के लिए ऑप्शनल होंगे, एंड ग्रेजुअली दीज विल बिकम नेसेसरी एंड मैंडेटरी। ठीक है, इसी में ये जो ये वाले जो सारे फ्रेमवर्क्स हैं, इनमें इस वक्त अगर आप ये पूछें कि सबसे ज़्यादा फोकस किस चीज़ पे है, तो इस वक्त सबसे ज़्यादा फोकस है ऑब्वियसली कार्बन एमिशंस पे. एट द फर्स्ट स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट हम जा रहे हैं कार्बन न्यूट्रल की तरफ, एंड देन वी वांट टू गो टू नेट ज़ीरो. कार्बन न्यूट्रल ये चीज़ है कि कोई बिजनेस ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस जितनी कार्बन इमिट करता है उतनी ही कार्बन एटलीस्ट एनवायरनमेंट से कैप्चर करके उसको डिस्ट्रॉय भी करता है. वाई इज कार्बन अच्छा और जो नेट ज़ीरो है वो ये कहता है कि आपकी जितनी ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस हैं जो आपकी दुनिया का टेम्परेचर बढ़ा रही हैं, उन सब की इमिशंस आपकी नेट ज़ीरो हैं. आप जितनी क्रिएट कर रहे हैं उतनी ही कैप्चर भी कर रहे हैं. सो वाई इज़ आवर फोकस ऑन कार्बन? क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली जब इस चीज़ की सारी स्टडी स्टार्ट हुई तो हमें पता चला कि कार्बन इज़ द मोस्ट डेंजरस, इट्स द मोस्ट डिस्ट्रक्टिव. और अगर हमें कोई बेसलाइन चाहिए, कहीं से हमने स्टार्ट करना है तो कार्बन से स्टार्ट करना है, वहाँ से सफ़र आसान होगा. तो आई होप कि एक थरो जवाब मैंने आपको दे दिया कि स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान क्या कर रहा है. सबसे पहले तो ऑब्वियसली हर बिजनेस को, हर फाइनेंशियल एंटिटी को ये समझना होगा कि ग्रीन क्या है, बाकी चीज़ें उसके बाद स्टार्ट होंगी. तो स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान पूरी इंडस्ट्री को वो गाइडलाइंस दे रहा है कि वो समझ पाएँ. पहली बात तो ये कि ग्रीन क्या है, और दूसरी बात ये कि फिर ESG के जितने भी कंप्लायंस फ्रेमवर्क्स हैं उनको उन्होंने अपने बिजनेस मॉडल्स में बिल्ट इन कैसे करना है. सो आई डू होप आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam, for coming here and answering this question. अच्छा जी, more from students. जी, what's your question? Switch it on.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. Sir, I would like to know what are some of the biggest challenges Pakistan is facing in adopting green practices in Pakistan?
Whom you are asking?
The Islamic banks are facing currently in Pakistan. The main issues, the main problems.
ओके जी. अच्छा देखिए जी, आई थिंक मैडम ने बड़ा डिटेल्ड में ग्रीन तो बता दिया, मेरे ख्याल में ग्रीन समझ में आ गया होगा सबको. ठीक है ना. देखिए चैलेंजेस वही हैं जो कि मैंने आपको बताया ना, जो इस्लामिक बैंकिंग के जो इनिशियल चैलेंजेस थे ना, वही चैलेंजेस यहाँ पर भी हैं. देयर इज़ अ बिग लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस, अंडरस्टैंडिंग का फुकदान है. पीपल रियली डोंट नो इन विच ट्रबल दे आर, और वो आगे जाकर किस मुसीबत में पड़ सकते हैं. देखिए बात यह है कि जो क्लाइमेट का जो ये एक बहुत बड़ा चेंज आया है ना, और ये पिछले कई सालों से आ रहा है, उसमें आपको खुद नज़र आ रहा होगा कि वी हैव सीन एरेटिक रेनफॉल्स. ठीक है ना, कहीं बहुत ज़्यादा रेन होती है, कहीं होती नहीं है, ड्राउट हो जाते हैं. ठीक है ना, वी हैव क्लाउड बर्स्ट. ठीक है ना, जो आपके जितनी भी स्नो है, ठीक है ना, ग्लेशियर्स आपके मेल्ट होते जा रहे हैं. और जब वो ग्लेशियर मेल्ट होते हैं, साथ में हैवी रेनफॉल होता है, तो उसका रिजल्ट कहाँ पर आता है? उसका रिजल्ट आता है फ्लड पर. ठीक है ना. फ्लड क्या करता है? फ्लड आपके एग्रीकल्चर को तबाह कर देता है, आपके इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को तबाह कर देता है. तो बेसिकली ये क्लाइमेट इशू नहीं है, ये इकोनॉमिक इशू है. ठीक है ना. हमने इसको इनिशियली तो इसको हमने क्लाइमेट इशू ही लिया था, बट as a result of all those calamities, this is becoming an economic issue, और for that we all have to gear up, which means कि ये कोई एक बंदे की काबिज से नहीं होगा. it's a collective effort. ठीक है ना. as students you also have to play your part. क्योंकि देखिए बात ये है कि जैसे मैडम ने बात की ना कार्बन की. अब कार्बन देखिए बात ये है कि हम कार्बन को कैसे कैसे हम ऐड करते हैं. ठीक है ना. हम बेसिकली जब दरख्त लगाते हैं तो हमारा और जो उनका प्लांट्स का रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम है वो बिल्कुल उलट है. ठीक है ना. वी इनटेक कार्बन एंड वी एक्सेल कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. ठीक है ना. और उनके लिए जो रिवर्स है. ठीक है ना. दे वांट कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड दे एमिट ऑक्सीजन. तो बात ये है कि अनफॉर्चुनेटली आप देखें तो दरख्तों की तादाद में कमी बढ़ने के बजाय दरख्तों की तादाद में कमी होती जा रही थी. ठीक है ना. आप मुख्तलिफ जगहों पे चले जाएं, लोग बड़े धड़ल्ले के साथ दरख्त काट देते हैं और उनको पता भी नहीं चलता कि यार ये हम करने क्या जा रहे हैं. ठीक है ना. आपका जो एग्रीकल्चर खराब हो रहा है, उसके एग्रीकल्चर का इम्पैक्ट जो है ना, वो आपके लाइफस्टाइल पे पड़ता है, इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ जाती है. I mean, these are all challenges which unfortunately until unless we are not aware about. मैं आपको लिटरली बताऊं कि the use of plastic, that is also a hazard. ये जो हम ये प्लास्टिक बॉटल पे यूज करते हैं ना, I would urge and I would request कि हम ये प्लास्टिक बॉटल बंद कर दें. ठीक है ना, ग्लास बॉटल यूज करें. एक ग्लास बॉटल रखें, चार पीने के लिए ग्लास रखें. अनफॉर्चुनेटली ये बॉटल्स जो है ये जाती है बाहर. अब आप देखें पाकिस्तान में इस वक्त वी आर द वर्स्ट अफेक्टेड कंट्री एज फार एज स्मॉग इज कंसर्न. लाहौर, एंटायर पंजाब, ठीक है ना. और ये पिछले कुछ सालों में नहीं था. ये रिसेंट डेवलपमेंट है. और ये स्मॉग आप ये देखेंगे 2-3 महीने स्मॉग की वजह से आपकी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी बंद हो जाती है. आपकी एयरलाइन ट्रैवल नहीं कर सकती. ठीक है ना. तो ऑल दीज आर द इश्यूज व्हिच वी ऑल शुड बी अवेयर अबाउट. ठीक है ना. दीज आर नॉट समथिंग्स के जो कि अचानक आ रही हैं. ये आ चुकी हैं. ये कोई फ्यूचर नहीं है. दीज आर ऑलरेडी देयर बट दिस विल एग्रीवेट. ये और ज्यादा बुरी होंगी. लिहाजा व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज वी शुड बी रियली प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर इट. हमें दरख्तों को लगाना चाहिए. जितना ज्यादा हरियाली होगी हमारे पास उतना ज्यादा बेहतर होगा. हमें ये जो प्लास्टिक से जितना अवॉइड कर सके करें. लेकिन एक चीज जो एक्चुअली मुफ्ती साहब ने भी पहले की थी, मैं उसको थोड़ा सा रिटेट कर दूं कि आज हम ये समझते हैं कि ये जो SDGs की बात हो रही है, जो ESG की बात हो रही है, सस्टेनेबिलिटी की बात हो रही है, ये सारी कोई रिसेंट डेवलपमेंट है या आज के जो स्कॉलर्स हैं, ठीक है ना, उन्होंने शायद लेकर आया. लेकिन मैं आपको बताऊं कि इस्लाम 1400 साल पहले जब मकासद शरिया को जब डिफाइन करता है ना, तो ये सारी की सारी चीजें जो है ना उसके अंदर आ जाती हैं. यू शुड स्टडी मकासद शरिया. ठीक है ना. कि जब हम शरीयत की बात करते हैं ना, जब इस्लामिक ग्रीन फाइनेंस की बात करते हैं, हम कह रहे हैं क्यों करें. तो जब हम शरीयत को अप्लाई करते हैं ना, तो हमें पता होना चाहिए कि इसके बेनिफिट्स क्या हैं. और मैं बताऊं इसके 5 ब्रॉड बेनिफिट्स हैं कि किन चीज को प्रोटेक्ट करना है. इस्लाम शरीयत जो है किन चीज को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए आती है. ठीक है ना. आपके ईमान को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए, ठीक है ना, आपकी जान को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए, आपकी अकल को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए, आपकी नस्ल को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए और आपके माल को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए. ठीक है ना. और आप ये देखें तो ये जितना भी ये जो हम ग्रीन हाउस एमिशन की बात कर रहे हैं, हम सस्टेनेबिलिटी की बात कर रहे हैं, ये भी बेसिकली उसी डायरेक्शन में. ठीक है ना. आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को आप बचाने जा रहे हैं, आप अपनी फैमिलीज को बचाने जा रहे हैं, आप अपनी लाइफ को बचाने जा रहे हैं. तो ये वो चीजें हैं जो कि इस्लाम तो हमें कब का दे चुका. अनफॉर्चुनेटली जब हम मुसीबत में आते हैं ना, तब हमें वो रियलाइज होता है कि यार इस्लाम तो पहले से मौजूद था, हमने उसको फायदा नहीं उठाया. जैसे मैंने आपको भी इस्लामिक बैंकिंग का बताया कि वो तो 1975 से वो मौजूद था. ठीक है ना. लेकिन लोगों को रियलाइजेशन कब हुई? तब 2009 में उन्हें पता चला कि यार ट्रांसपेरेंसी की जरूरत है. उन्हें पता चला कि एथिक्स की जरूरत है. तो उन्होंने इस्लामिक बैंकिंग का नाम रख दिया एथिकल बैंकिंग, क्योंकि शर्म आती है ना मुझे ये कहते हुए कि हम इस्लामिक बैंकिंग यूज करते हैं. तो दे यूज द टर्म एथिकल बैंकिंग. इट्स द सेम. तो बात ये है कि ये जो इस्लामिक फाइनेंस है, जो इस्लामिक बैंकिंग है, इट्स all coming from the teachings of कुरान पाक, teaching from the हदीस पाक. ठीक है ना. और इसका मकसद सिर्फ यही है कि सोसाइटी की बेहतरी. इसका मकसद ये है कि जो ह्यूमन बीइंग दे शुड सर्वाइव एंड दे शुड सर्वाइव वेल. आई होप आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन.
थैंक यू जी. एनीवन एल्स?
अस्सलामुअलैकुम. माय क्वेश्चन इज रिगार्डिंग द मार्कअप कि इस पे कोई कैप है इस्लामिक बैंकिंग में या कुछ किसी भी परसेंट का मार्कअप ले सकते हैं ये?
Markup basically is a common word that is used for the interest-based lending.
हेलो
जी, am I audible? अच्छा जी. Markup is basically is the word used for the conventional financing and as well as for the Islamic finance. Okay, तो पहले ये बात ध्यान में रख लें कि what is the underlying structure? Basically your question regarding the profit making, हाँ ऐसे ही है. there will be no cap according to Sharia. ना exploit की definition क्या होगी? Harmful for the second party. हाँ? And Quran says that ला तज़लिमून व ला तुज़लमून, ना तुम जुल्म करो ना तुम पर जुल्म होगा. Clear? So basically there are clear guidelines according to the Mufti Sahab knows that the ghaban fahish, extreme charging the price. There is a mechanism of the price controlling with respect to the government. Government इसको basically देख रही होती है. ऐसा नहीं है कि जनाब आप कोई जो है वो ऐसा कोई जो है वो standard रखें for benchmark for taking the benefit from the customer. ऐसा नहीं है. Okay? जी इसमें ऐड कर रहे हैं.
देखिए इसमें जो प्राइसिंग है ना, प्राइसिंग आपको पता है, प्राइसिंग का ताल्लुक डिमांड एंड सप्लाई से होता है. तो इस्लाम जिस चीज को प्रोहिबिट करता है ना, वो है होर्डिंग. कि आप इस तरह की कोई मोनोपोली ना बनाए कि आप जो माल जो कि जनरल लोगों के लिए हो सकता है वो आप उसको छुपा दें और उसको जब वो बिल्कुल एंड नीड पर आ जाए तब आप उसको निकालें. ठीक है ना. और उसको निकालने के बाद फिर आप अपनी मनमानी प्राइस ऐसी चार्ज करें जो वो मजबूर हो देने के लिए. दिस इज बेसिकली नॉट अलाउड. ठीक है ना. लेकिन अदरवाइज जो जैसे मैंने अभी आपको मिसाल दी हाउसिंग के सब प्राइम मॉर्गेज क्राइसिस की, तो वो जो घर जो कि सस्ता बिक रहा था वो सस्ता था नहीं, वो था महंगा. लेकिन चूंकि सप्लाई बहुत ज्यादा हो गई तो उसकी वजह से उसकी डिमांड कम हो गई. जब डिमांड कम हुई तो उसके प्राइस कम हो गए. ठीक है ना. तो ये तो नेचुरल फिनोमिना है, ये हर चीज में होता है. आप देखिए चीनी आपके इस वक्त जो है जब सप्लाई बढ़ रही है तो चीनी की प्राइस कम हो रही है, लेकिन जब चीनी की होर्डिंग हो जाती है, ठीक है ना, तो उसकी प्राइस बढ़ जाती है. तो दिस होर्डिंग इज नॉट अलाउड. दैट इज प्रोहिबिटेड, इज स्ट्रिक्टली प्रोहिबिटेड इन इस्लाम. एनीथिंग व्हिच बेसिकली टेक्स द राइट ऑफ अ कॉमन मैन, दैट इज नॉट अलाउड. अदरवाइज जो प्राइसिंग है दैट इज ऑलवेज नेगोशिएबल हो सकती है.
Just one more point to that. Anything that's exploitative is not allowed in Islam. अगर exploitation की तरफ चीज जाएगी तो वो transaction ही non-Islamic हो जानी है.
We may have a last question from our students, वरना फिर मेरा एक last question है from Rahil sir special. Rahil sir, alhamdulillah, एक तो I would like to thank all of you to answer
Hello.
the students on their level, because the important part is how can we disseminate this knowledge we have, the experience we have to these students who are maybe in the first step or 0.5 steps. So one last question is regarding the role of Muzarabas regarding our this green finance and green projects. What are they doing? What better they can do? What are they foreseeing in the future for this?
देखिए, okay. I'm sure all of you are aware of what a Mudarba structure is. Essentially, it's a fund that is managed by a Mudarib. The Mudarib gets a portion of the profit for his services, and it's not fixed. So from that angle, the Mudarib has to make a profit to get his fees or management fees. Mudaribas have been actually funding green when it was not called green. My own Mudarba, which used to be part of Standard Chartered Group and then Greenlays Group before that, and now is part of the Oryx Group, we've been doing green or environmental friendly financing for the last 25 years. Whether it was solar, whether it was efficient lighting, whether it was waste heat recovery, whether it was, some things related to ethical manufacturing. And we also had a questionnaire because the group was a signatory of the Equator Principles much before the ESG all the sustainability goals came on. So we had a questionnaire that started with, does the client have greenhouse gas emission standards? And it went on to talk about local communities, it went on to talk about the harm, minimum wage, underage labor, all sorts of stuff. So, as I said, the Mudarris has been doing this for a long time. Our role is relatively limited at this point in time because our sector is small. But once the sector starts growing, I'm sure we'll be doing much more in terms of our impact in the economy. if that's a very simple answer.
Thank you, our guests, and Raza sir, you would like to add?
जी, एक आखिरी एक बात छोटी सी मुझे कहनी बहुत ज़रूरी समझ रहा था मैं, क्योंकि इस डिस्कशन के बाद कि देखिए ये जो पूरा जो हम ग्रीन फाइनेंस की बात कर रहे हैं, ग्रीन हाउस एमिशन की बात कर रहे हैं, इसमें एक जो चीज़ बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है ना, वो है रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, कि हमें एक रिस्पॉन्सिव शहरी के तौर पर अपना रोल भी प्ले करना है. एंड लेट मी टेल यू, इस्लामिक बैंकिंग और इस्लामिक फाइनेंस फोकसेस लॉट ऑन इट. और ये जो मैंने आपको इब्तिदा में थोड़ी सी बात बताई ना, कि आज दुनिया ये रियलाइज़ कर रही है कि एक चीज़ जो कि माशरे से ख़त्म होती जा रही है ना, वो है कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग. आई मीन जो मैंने आपको जो डिबैकल्स बताए ना, चाहे वो 2001 का एनरॉन का क्राइसिस हो, 2002 का वर्ल्डकॉम का हो, 2007 का या 8 का लेमन ब्रदर्स का हो, 2016 का वेल्स फार्गो का हो, ठीक है ना, ये सारे जितने भी ये डिबैकल हुए ना, इसमें एक चीज़ बिल्कुल कॉमन थी, वो ये थी कि पैसा बनाने के लिए लोगों ने कैरेक्टर को जो है ना वो अपने पैरों तले रोन दिया. उन्होंने कहा नहीं यार, दैट मतलब वो जो हम कहते हैं ना, से नो टू करप्शन, तो उसका डिफरेंट एक वर्जन होता है, ठीक है ना. तो बात ये है कि आज दुनिया भर में, और जब मैं दुनिया भर में कह रहा हूँ ना, तो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ कि जो बड़े आपके फाइनेंशियल जो आपके एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, इंक्लूडिंग हार्वर्ड, स्टैनफोर्ड, INSEAD, आपके ये तक जो है ना, आज जो कोर्सेज जो अपने उन्होंने बिल्ट इन किए हैं ना, इवन ऑक्सफोर्ड एंड कैम्ब्रिज जो है कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग का, बिकॉज दे रियली फील कि दिस इज समथिंग विच इज मिसिंग. ठीक है ना, वो डीन है हार्वर्ड का, वो कहता है वी हैव मेड ब्राइट माइंड्स बट वी फेल टू क्रिएट गुड हार्ट्स. ठीक है ना. तो इस्लामिक बैंकिंग एंड इस्लामिक फाइनेंस, चूंकि मैंने आपसे कहा ना, उसके डीएनए में एथिक शामिल है, उसके डीएनए में वैल्यू सिस्टम शामिल है. हम जो ट्रांजैक्शंस करते हैं ना, हम शरिया कंप्लायंस की बात करते हैं, हम सुबह 9 से 6 की ट्रांजैक्शन, ये शरिया कंप्लायंट नहीं होता. हमारा शरिया कंप्लायंट होता है 24/7, which means whatever we do should be Sharia compliant. Whatever we say should be Sharia compliant. When we promise, we should honor. When we commit, we should follow that. This is something which is badly missing, or this is the part of character building. और माशाल्लाह, चूंकि you are all जो आपके ये जो लेटेस्ट जनरेशन, यू आर ऑल अटैच्ड विद द टेक्नोलॉजी, आप लोग को भी नजर आता होगा कि किस तरह से दुनिया में फ्रॉड्स होते हैं, किस तरह से दुनिया में जो है ना वो चीटिंग की जाती है. आज जो ये आपका पूरा जो साइबर क्राइम जो है टेक्नोलॉजी के बाद, इट्स ऑन अ राइज. ठीक है ना. और उस पर कहीं भी एथिक्स नहीं है, क्योंकि उन्हें क्या चाहिए, उन्हें सिर्फ पैसा चाहिए, और उस पैसे को कमाने के लिए दे कैन डू एनीथिंग. So what we need to do is attaching yourself with Islamic finance, with Islamic banking, with Islamic education. हम ये ethics और ये जो value system है ना, इसको आप अपने अंदर ingrain कर सकते हैं. That is very important.
Yes.
Just one quick message. Agar if you don't believe in Islamic finance, don't come here. पहले उसको पढ़ लें, समझ लें, and start believing in it. Because this is not a place जिधर आप नौकरी करने आते हैं. इधर आप आते हैं to actually further the cause. So understand Islamic finance, believe in it, and then come into this sector.
Really thankful for the sacred messages, as well as the opinions and the informed discussion, alhamdulillah, we had in this session. And
thank you very much. Let me try to fix this one a little bit. Okay, first of all, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning, afternoon to all of you. I'm really pleased to be part of this seminar on Islamic green finance. I would like to appreciate my colleague Dr. Omar for organizing this one in the first place, and the SZABIST University, as well as the panelists for their insightful discussion. My apologies for not being able to join. It seems even I couldn't hear you very well. The audio wasn't, to be honest with you, coming clear, so I didn't want to interrupt or participate. Anyway, coming back to, let me try to share. I made some, basically I made some brief slides to keep you more entertaining, because, you know, we are all online. So hopefully you can, follow something and see the things better. Okay. Another thing that I want to just highlight here, because Dr. Omar said that I will be discussing more on the book, but actually I didn't want to go into discussing the book per se, but rather I wanted to go and discuss on the topic. Because, I mean, talking about the book would be like, for me, a little bit, how to say, not really something that I like to talk about being the book that we work together on, but rather, because they are students, they are esteemed scholars there. Hopefully, we can all benefit from some kind of overall discussion and overall analysis, right? So, what I'm going to do is basically cover general ideas about Islamic green finance. Hopefully, it will be entertaining as well. But I will leave later on maybe some discussion about the book itself, and I'm sure that Dr. Omar can help with that one as well. Okay, so basically, I want to start with the question, right? On how do you invest your money if you care about both your faith and the planet, right? So this isn't hypothetical for millions of people around the world. It is a real challenge that sits at the intersection of three powerful movements, which is Islamic finance, environmental sustainability, and the urgent climate crisis that we are all facing. Now, today I'm going to introduce you to the Islamic green finance, a concept that is not just philosophically elegant, but also economically revolutionary, right? So, in fact, the market grew from mere 464 million in 2017 to approximately 9 billion in 2024, based on the latest report by different entities. Now, this obviously represents about 53% compound annual growth rate. So, because of this space where ethics, environment, economic finally agree, I mean, this is all that makes sense. However, obviously, we started quite late, to be honest, and this is something that we witness in Islamic finance. We are always reactionary, right? So when everyone started talking about ESG, when everyone started talking about green finance and everything, then we jump on bandwagon. So these numbers, I believe, should be much larger given the potential, given the population that we have. But nevertheless, this is what it is, right? So Islamic finance in general, as we have already discussed, isn't something new, right? So it dates back 1,400 more years, right? But in modern form, it is a 4.3 trillion industry. And the moment it encountered, it encountered the sustainability movement, something that magically is happening, right? And the Islamic finance is the perfect fit for that. So the core principles we all know, but just to recap quickly, right, are the following: prohibition of riba that we know, prohibition of maysir, gharar, and so on. So money alone cannot breed the money, cannot beget the money. So we cannot just simply lend and ask in return more than what we lend. Again, risk sharing is there, supposed to be. Unfortunately, we don't see it as much in Islamic finance, and this could be to a number of reasons. I don't want to blame the industry, but we are the ones to be blamed, because many times we as individuals that are participating in the Islamic finance industry are not willing to take on the risks, right? And then, of course, there is ethical dimension that we have, whereby the Quranic concept of a Khalifa on earth, that we are all basically supposed to take care and accountable for whatever we do. So all these elements that we are talking about, green finance, ESGs, and so on, are basically embedded in Islamic finance, Islamic religion, if we can call it as such, right? So now, here is where it connects to sustainability, right? So these aren't just religious requirements, right? They are literally the DNA of responsible investing. They naturally exclude environmentally harmful, socially unjust, or overly risky ventures. So when you layer environmental consciousness onto these principles, basically we get financial system that asks, or where my money is going, okay? who benefits and who bears the risk? Is this sustainable for future generations and so on? So this is what Islam has been saying for centuries, right? So it's not something new. We are not coming up with the new knowledge. Actually, this has been embedded, as I said, from the very beginning. However, at some point of time, we distracted ourselves or disconnected from this one, unfortunately. And this is something that we need to rediscover. We need to reinvent sort of the wheel that has been in place for a long time. So it's exactly what the climate conscious investors need today. Right. So let me introduce we already had the questions about the Sukuk. So I'll be quickly a little bit mentioning as well here, right? So the green Sukuk. First, what is the Sukuk, right? So someone already answered, so I'll just recap some thoughts, right? Think of it as an Islamic cousin of bond, right? On a face value, right? But with a crucial difference, right? So what happens is that the conventional bond is simply that instrument where you lend the money and you get the interest repayment. However, Sukuk represents, as already our panelists mentioned, ownership in real assets. So you are not actually lending the money; you are investing in something tangible. For example, when it comes to the green Sukuk, of course, we are talking about, for example, solar farms, hospital, wind turbine, green buildings, and things like that. So how these Sukuk work, right? We have there are a number of actually case studies in our book that we have discussed, and our contributors have contributed to the book by discussing. Hopefully you will have a chance to look at it. But here is just one example, right? The United Arab Emirates, for example, wants to build a massive solar farm. Instead of traditionally just borrowing the money, right? Traditional debt financing, they can issue green Sukuk, whereby investor will buy the certificates that represents the partial ownership, right? Similar to, someone also mentioned, similar to the stocks, right? So when we buy the stocks, we are participating in the company, we are shareholders, partial shareholders of that company. So as the solar farm generates the energy revenue, investors receive their share of the profit. Not interest, but actual economic return from the real asset producing real renewable electricity. So this is sort of a magic. And importantly, this is all in line with the Sharia law. And why does this matter, right? We may ask this question as well, right? So the green Sukuk solved the problem that had haunted Islamic finance for many years. How do you finance large-scale sustainability project while maintaining the Sharia compliance? So the answer is simply by using these asset-backed securities with environmental purposes. So just to look at some numbers quickly, right? What is happening, right? Basically, in 2023, the UAE launched its National Sustainable Finance Framework, for example. Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Qatar each released the sovereign green financing frameworks in 2024. The Islamic Development Bank raised 500 million through the Green Sukuk benchmark issuance in October 2025 as well. Then we have the Global Sustainable Finance through Islamic Instruments. They jumped to 5.51 billion in 2022 from 3.51 billion in 2022. So this obviously shows potential and acceleration in the market that can be very much useful and helpful for the overall development of the industry. Now, where does the money go? Basically, the money is an abstract, so let's make it concrete by using it through the Islamic finance instruments. So where are these green Sukuk actually being invested? So we can have the priority sectors, something like renewable energy sectors, like just solar, wind, hydroelectric, geothermal projects, and so on. So this is related to the decarbonization. Then we can have sustainable infrastructure by building these green buildings, public transportation system, water management, waste management facilities, and so on. We can also have the low carbon development initiatives that we use the technology innovation, energy efficiency projects, and sustainable agriculture. Finally, but last but not the least, is the climate resilience, right? Where we can have projects that help communities, that help communities adapt to the climate impacts. For example, coastal protection, drought-resistant agriculture, flood management system, and so on. We are facing a few these days. Maybe you will see some flooding even in Saudi Arabia. Actually, we got the warning a couple of days ago just about the possibilities of rain. And to be honest with you, today the universities in Jeddah are basically off. Students are online because of the possibility of floods. And these are the things that are creating sometimes some kind of issues and problems and not only some kind of catastrophes and bigger problems of life loss and similar things, right? So why is it better than conventional finance? Why? Well, this is where with the conventional green finance, money flows to whoever offers the highest or the best return. With the green sukuk, there is an additional layer, ethical filter, right, that we are using. So this is where the maqasid of Sharia comes into picture, right? And we are basically raising the questions such as, does this respect the human dignity? Does this benefit the community? Does this avoid waste and exploitation? And is this genuinely sustainable or greenwashing? So this dual compliance, i.e. additional layer of compliance, creates a governance layer that conventional green finance doesn't have. So what are for example, there is huge potential, as I said, in this industry. UAE, for example, Banks Federation committed 1 trillion, UAE dirham, approximately 272 billion, to sustainable finance by 230. Then we have the Islamic Sustainable Finance Initiative announced in December 2024 that aims to train 1 million sustainability leaders. So these aren't the small initiatives. These are the things that inshallah will bring huge benefits to the all, right? So anyway, the Islamic finance, or the Islamic green finance in particular, right? It's not just being on its own, of course. As I said, we are very much reactionary in that sense. So this is like reaction of the industry on the initiative by the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and the Islamic finance principle align beautifully with most of them, to be honest. Here I'm just mentioning a few of them that are directly related, such as the SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, SDG 12, responsible consumptions and production, and SDG 13, climate action. Again, these are not limited only to this one, but they are actually, all of them are pretty much in line in one way or the other to the principles of Islam. And we may ask why. It's simply because Islamic finance demands that we consider impact beyond the profit. So it's not just about profit, but basically there is a wider objective in Islamic finance. At least it should be there. So it's built for thinking systematically, right? So this is where also, as I mentioned, ESG, environmental, social, and governance comes into picture. And this has become the global investment standards. So now Islamic finance precedes ESG by centuries, right? It's asking those questions built in, and green sukuk is essentially ESG packaged in an Islamic instrument, which means it attracts both values-driven Islamic investor and conventional ESG conscious institutions. So this is the bridge between the two walls. So this is where Islamic finance industry can hugely benefit by basically applying it and providing the instruments that can attract not only the Muslim investors, but also conventional ones. Now, all this sounds very well and nice, and talk is general, right? But no project, no ideas are without its flaws or without its challenges. And I would like to highlight, and again, all this is basically based on the research that we have done, our book. So this is like summary of all of them. So there are real challenges in implementing all these projects and coming up with the new solutions. In particular, right, I don't want to oversell this one, but these are the real obstacles that we have. The first one is standardization. Why? Because we have different countries, different Sharia boards, different guidelines, and we need more consistency. This is something that I've been raising since, I think, 2010. I've been writing the articles for IFN, calling on the standardization. I understand fully the different madhahib, different scholars' view and difference, which is fine. But at some point of time, we need to work together. We need to develop more coherence between the market that will help us grow as together instead of divided, as it is currently pretty much market function. Then we have the issue of market depth, where the market is still small compared to the conventional green bonds. So liquidity may be the issue. So this is something that we need to do more. So maybe the central banks, I'm glad that we have representatives here from the Pakistan Central Bank, so we can, come up with the guidelines, help to create some kind of additional institutions that may facilitate these kind of projects. Second, the third one is basically awareness. I mean, this is generally the problem with most Muslim countries, and what I'm trying to do, I'm discussing with the Muslims, right? Generally, the question is, oh, come on, it is the same. It doesn't make any difference. We don't have any benefits in that, and so on and so forth. So what we need is that, we need to educate, we need to provide more awareness sessions like this seminar and similar things, like to educate the investor institutions so that they are aware of these things and that they actually participate in them. Of course, there is also issue of regulatory framework. This is something that, unfortunately, many Muslim countries are lacking. The Pakistan is an example that you quite have significant number of regulatory frameworks in place, but I guess this is something that we need to extend and develop even more. So improving and the regulations generally right now are varying from country to country, and this can slow the adoption across the globe. And then, of course, there is always this possibility or risk of greenwashing, right? So like any green finance tool, there is potential to be misused. And there will be always those who are trying to basically leverage on that. So what we need is some kind of robust regulations, robust verification of these products and everything that is in place. So, but here is the encouraging part, right? Every single challenge that we have, this is being actively, addressed in one way or the other, right? So Islamic Sustainable Finance Initiative exists specifically to address build awareness. Regulatory frameworks are being established. Standardization also the issue, but we are trying to reach to some kind of level of agreement and understanding. So more cross-border initiatives are being implemented. So we hope that for the that in future we will have better results as such. Now, so let me bring this discussion home, right? So why should you care about the Islamic green finance? So if you are investors, of course, you get returns on your investment by knowing that your money is financing real climate solution, and you are maintaining religious principles as well. So this is something that we need to follow. If you are a policymaker, of course, you have a massive capital pool, the 4.9 trillion, as I said, Islamic finance industry that is ready to fund sustainable development. We just need to extend our hands. We need to work it out and offer the project in that line. So this isn't abstract theory. It is basically accessible capital that is waiting for us to take their activities. Now, if you are someone who cares about the environment, right? You've been struggling with one question: how do we mobilize enough capital, to address climate change? So here is the green sukuk that taps into financial system that already values long-term thinking, risk sharing, and ethical consideration. If you are young, as our students today, I guess, right? You are the generation that will decide whether we actually decarbonize our economy or not. So one way to do that is obviously through the green sukuk. But that's one of the tools, not the only one, of course. And understanding these tools and similar tools is, means understanding emerging finance. So this is something that is coming up, right? So here is what I want you to remember. So Islamic green finance isn't about the compromise, right? It is not less profitable, right? Or just for a Muslim. It's actually a superior model of finance that ties investment to the real asset, shares risk fairly, incorporates environmental and social responsibility by design, and mobilizes capital at the scale towards sustainability. So the market grew, as we've seen at the beginning, at 53% annually for the last 7 years. And there are initiatives by UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and other leaders, betting billions on this. So this is potential that we can leverage on. At the same time, Islamic Development Bank is issuing green sukuk. Not only Islamic Development Bank, basically some countries around some sovereign states that are issuing as well around the world. They are issuing sukuk in euros, so basically to attract the global investor as well. So this isn't the fringe, right? This is the future of finance in regions controlling 40% of the world's oil reserves, and increasingly conscious that the fossil fuel era must end. So the elegance at the end of the day is this, right? The financial system that is built 1,400 years ago on principles of justice, fairness, and stewardship is proving to be exactly what the 21st century needs for the climate solutions. And that's worth paying attention. I would like to thank you. This is all from my side. I would like to thank you for listening. It is my contact details if someone wants to reach out to me and regarding the book or anything that I may say. I'm open to some kind of brief question if there are. Otherwise, thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see you again soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you from all our participants, Dr. Adib Shumuluk, the Associate Professor at University, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and founder of Islamic Finance for Everyone. And I would like to introduce the book, mashallah, written by Dr. Adib Shumuluk and by me, myself, Muhammad Umar Rafiq. So this is the book we were talking about, and this is on Islamic Green Finance. This is published from Routledge. And there are, alhamdulillah, more than 12-13 chapters on the topic of Islamic green finance, and the topics, mashallah, that today were being discussed regarding the mapping of Maqasid Sharia with the Sustainable Development Goals and etc. So as the time we are exceeding, we have, alhamdulillah, a very short a role play from our students, and I would like to call Nimra, Fatima, and the team. Please come forward and present your role play. And we will be wrapping it up, inshallah, on time or even before time, please.
I'm Fatima. Today, आज हम एक simple सवाल से start करते हैं कि what do you think is finance for everybody or is it has like कि जिनके पास सब कुछ है उन्हीं को फायदा होता है?
वालेकुम अस्सलाम। उसूलन फ़ाइनेंस तो सबके लिए होनी चाहिए, पर रियल वर्ल्ड में ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं हो रहा। जो स्मॉल फार्मर्स हो गए, स्मॉल बिजनेसेस हो गए, उनको लोन्स बहुत मुश्किलों से मिलते हैं, वो लोग स्ट्रगल करते रहते हैं, और जो स्ट्रॉन्ग फार्मर्स हैं, जिनका स्ट्रॉन्ग बैकग्राउंड है, उनको आसानी से लोन मिल जाते हैं।
Exactly, and that's the inequality जिसको ग्रीन इस्लामिक फाइनेंस एड्रेस करता है. इसका हमारा कोर पर्पस यही है to provide fair access and responsible investments.
पाकिस्तान का एग्रीकल्चर जीडीपी का 22.9% कवर करता है, पर फिर भी फार्मर्स को सबसे कम सपोर्ट मिलता है।
And that's a contradiction. It's about 37% of the labor force of Pakistan is contributed by the agricultural sector. लेकिन उन्हें फिर भी खर्च नहीं मिलता. जो पिक क्लाइंट्स हैं उनको हमेशा प्रायोरिटी मिलती है, और जो यंग लोग हैं और जो फार्मर्स हैं उनको सिर्फ पेपर वर्क मिलता है.
लेकिन जो ज़रूरी तरक्याती बैंक जैसे इंस्टीट्यूशन है वो भी स्मॉल फार्मर फर्स्ट का नाम लेते हैं, लेकिन एंड में लोन उन्हीं को मिलता है जो अफोर्ड कर सकते हैं, जो स्टेबल हैं, लेकिन जो नहीं कर सकते वो पीछे रह जाते हैं।
सही, फार्मर्स जो होते हैं उनको टाइम पे क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता, जिसकी वजह से वो अपने पेस्टिसाइड्स वगैरह जो हैं वो मार्केट से ख़रीदते हैं, जिससे इनइक्वालिटी जो है वो बहुत इंक्रीज़ हो जाती है.
Exactly, and that's the cycle we need to break. Green finance का मतलब ही यही है कि हम planet भी सेव करें और हमारे लोगों को भी सेव करें.
सो ग्रीन फाइनेंस सिर्फ सोलर पैनल्स नहीं, इट ऑल्सो अबाउट वाटर एफिशिएंट इरिगेशन, लो केमिकल फार्मिंग, राइट?
Exactly, and for the last stats shows कि around 4 to 5% increase हुआ है in the crop productivity because of these loans and financing.
लेकिन जब स्मॉल फार्मर क्रेडिट ही अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता तो सस्टेनेबिलिटी कैसे अडॉप्ट करे? जब फाइनेंस ग्रीन तभी होगा जब चलेगा, जब ग्रीन तभी होगा जब ग्रीन एक्सेस.
And that's very true because बात यहाँ सिर्फ फाइनेंस की नहीं है, बात ज़िंदगी की है. आज पाकिस्तान में हर साल इतने मेजर क्लाइमेट चेंजेस आते हैं. If you remember 2022 का flood, about 1,700 people lost their lives, about 8 million people lost their homes, and about $30+ billion के losses हुए हैं. And that's not just numbers, ये सिर्फ हमारी लाइफ की रियलिटी है. अगर हम सस्टेनेबिलिटी के ऊपर काम नहीं करेंगे तो हमारे साथ और बहुत कुछ खराब हो सकता है.
इसका मतलब तो ये है कि क्लाइमेट क्राइसिस और हमारे जो अनइक्वल फाइनेंसेस हैं वो हमारी इकॉनमी को और हमें जो है वो डबल डैमेज दे रहे हैं. हमारी इकॉनमी ख़राब हो रही है, हमें बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसानात फेस करने पड़ रहे हैं.
और अगर स्मॉल फार्मर्स को फेयर क्रेडिट मिले तो फूड सिक्योरिटी इम्प्रूव होती है और क्लाइमेट शॉक्स का इम्पैक्ट भी कम होता है.
Exactly, और यही solutions है for a country like Pakistan that's facing major climate changes every year. Islamic green finance का पर्पस ही यही है कि एक ऐसा मॉडल हो जो प्रॉफिट के साथ एथिक्स भी हो, कम्युनिटी वेलफेयर पे भी काम करता हो.
Then message is clear, finance should not punish. Then message is clear, finance should not punish the poor and development should not punish the planet.
Exactly. अगर हम एक्सेस को फेयर बनाएं और फाइनेंस को रिस्पॉन्सिबल बनाएं तो सोशल जस्टिस, फाइनेंशियल इक्वालिटी और एनवायरमेंटल प्रोटेक्शन सब साथ साथ चल सकता है. एंड टू सम इट ऑल अप, इस्लाम कहता है कि ये जो ज़मीन है ये अल्लाह की अमानत है, और इस अमानत का ख्याल रखना सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट का नहीं, इंस्टीट्यूशंस का, बैंक्स का और हम सब का फ़र्ज़ है. और अगर हमारी नीयत साफ़ हो तो फाइनेंस इबादत भी बन सकता है. थैंक यू सो मच.
So, in this semester, we have been trying our best to discuss again and again the need of green finance, the need of sustainability, and I thank all of the participants. So, as we are moving towards the end of our session, so before having the last keynote word from our Ms. Sara, we would like to distribute the shields to our honored guests, and I would like to call Madam Tazeen, the Program Manager of BSAF, heading all the whole program, and Ms. Sara as well on the stage to present the shield to our guests. I would like to call Mr. Raza. Thank you so much. Then I would like to call Mr. Rahil Kamal Saab. Please come forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Daniel Saab from State Bank as well. Token of appreciation for you as well. Thank you for coming and the sheet for Ms. Sara for helping us in this seminar. Thank you, madam. Thank you. There, and now we would like Ms. Sara to have the last keynote word, and then we will.
बहुत डिटेल डिस्कशन ऑलरेडी हो चुकी और उम्मीद है कि स्टेट बैंक क्या कर रहा है इस सिलसिले में, किस अंदाज में कर रहा है, थोड़ा सा मैं आपको बता पाई हूँ। मैं फिर रिआइटरेट करूँगी, शुरू में सर ने एक बहुत अच्छी बात की कि इस्लामिक ग्रीन फाइनेंस, दैट इज़ द स्पिरिट ऑफ ग्रीन फाइनेंस द वे आई सी इट। इस्लामिक ग्रीन फाइनेंस इज़ अ बिट ऑफ अ रिडंडेंट टर्म। इस्लामिक फाइनेंस इन एंड ऑफ इट सेल्फ इतना कंप्लायंट है टू सोशल एंड इंडिविजुअल वेलफेयर कि अगर आप वही सारे प्रिंसिपल्स उठा लें तो दे आर ग्रीन इन देयर वेरी एसेंस, इन देयर वेरी नेचर, इन देयर वेरी डिज़ाइन। तो इस्लामिक फाइनेंस और ग्रीन फाइनेंस ऑलरेडी कॉन्जॉइंड है, ये डिफरेंट मूवमेंट्स नहीं है, ये बिल्कुल सेम मूवमेंट है। इसको दुनिया ने अब समझना और अपनाना शुरू किया है, इस्लाम ने तो 1400 साल पहले दे दिया था। तो ये दो डिफरेंट चीज़ें समझ के आप इनको ना पढ़ें, दे आर द सेम थिंग। इनको एक ही चीज़ समझ के पढ़ें, इनको एक ही चीज़ समझ कर अपनाएं। दूसरे मैं आप सबसे फिर रिक्वेस्ट करूँगी कि प्लीज़ जो हमारे यूएन के SDGs हैं 2030 उनको ज़रूर पढ़िए। स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने जो ग्रीन टैक्सोनॉमी इशू की है उसको ज़रूर पढ़ें। दैट इज़ अ ब्यूटिफुल रोड मैप फॉर हाउ बिजनेसेस कैन अंडरस्टैंड वेदर और नॉट दे आर ग्रीन एंड हाउ दे कैन मूव इन दैट डायरेक्शन। इस्लामिक फाइनेंस तो आई थिंक एक सबसेट है ऑफ योर डिग्री। आई एम श्योर आप सारे फाइनेंस के स्टूडेंट्स हैं एंड दोज आर द जॉब्स एंड द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ दैट यू आर एमिंग फॉर। तो IFRS 9 के अंडर जैसे हमने बात की जो ESG के डिस्क्लोजर के स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं आप उनको भी ज़रूर पढ़ें, बिकॉज ऑल दीज 3 थिंग्स टुगेदर विल हेल्प यू टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ग्रीन क्या है, आपने करना कैसे है और रेगुलेटर को कैसे बताना है कि आप कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर द इन्विटेशन। थैंक यू टू ऑल द स्पीकर्स। आज मैंने बहुत सीखा। इट वॉज अ लवली अपॉर्चुनिटी। थैंक यू फॉर इन्वाइटिंग अस। थैंक यू सो मच।
I thank and madam, just 1 minute, Mufti Saab has come. So the shield for Mufti Sarfaraz Nihal Saab, the resident Sharia board member from Standard Chartered Pakistan. Thank you. I would like to thank all the parties from on behalf of SZABIST to the State Bank of Pakistan, to Rahil Saab and to Raza Saab from Mizan Bank, to Mufti Sarfaraz Saab and to all the audience as well for coming here and making this event lovely and lively. Thank you for all of you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.